Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape volume, I believe, 173. You can watch this show live every single Tuesday, just about, on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel or Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel, whichever channel strikes your fancy. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan or a Philadelphia Eagles fan, if you're a Cowboys or Eagles fan, you should also be checking out the fantastic work at blogontheboys.com, bleedinggreennation.com. There you can read myself, himself, and our talented staffs. I'm RJ Ochoa from Blog on the Boys. He is Brandon Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. BLG, happy BLG Day to BGN and all of PHILs in PA, said RJ.
Wow, that was a lot. Happy belated birthday
to you, both of us,
RJ. Well, I'm not going to say it to myself, but thank you on your behalf. Yeah, Brandon Lee Graham is back with the Philadelphia Eagles, who is covered by Brandon Lee Gowton. So there you go.
You know, you and I say a lot how this is the best time of year. And we don't say a lot when we say that it's due to our birthdays. That, you know, is a personal bias for each of us that we happen to share. But it was our birthday weekend, which it happened to fall on a weekend. So I hope you had a fantastic celebration. I saw you were out with your friends, and I hope it was everything you wanted it to be. Thank you for the kind wishes. But it was a great sports weekend for the mixtape. Great sports weekend at large for me. Arizona State got a dramatic win over Texas Tech. University of Florida got a win and then also moved on from Billy Napier. So, you know, it's really hard to be mad. I've got leftover cake that my wife baked. I mean, like,
What kind of cake?
My favorite cake, I'm a very simple man. Yellow cake, chocolate frosting. That's what I like.
A classic. I have some Trader Joe's pumpkin cheesecake in my fridge still that my parents got me. Shout out, Mom and Dad.
Shout out, Mr. and Mrs. G.
So that was really good. Spent time with them. Spent time with my girlfriend Rachel over the weekend. Had a good time. So yeah, a lot of fun on Friday night. Where played some pool, got some pizza, drinks were had. Very good times all around.
Do you like to be stripes or solids when you play pool?
I mean, it really depends on. You're saying like all things being equal, because you know,
yeah,
obviously
all things like obviously it depends on
positioning.
That goes without saying. Yeah.
I think I really don't have a strong preference. I'm gonna go solid. I'll say solid.
I'm a stripes guy, so you know that just kind of lives.
Is more visually striking which like almost might help in a way, like that, just that contrast between the white and the there's some very cool pool balls I've seen that have like a swirl color going on in them. That's kind of confusing when it comes to, because the solids have it too, but they do look pretty. I wouldn't actually want to play with them as much as like that would be just kind of like a fun display thing.
Well,
shout out to Eagles Girl in the comments here with the birthday wishes.
Eagles Girl also was excited to hear about your pumpkin cheesecake. So
it's very good. Would highly recommend. Not a sponsor, but it's a very good time.
Also not a sponsor, Jimmy John's, but I'm gonna have that for lunch today. I'm pretty pumped. Like, I'm just like, everything's kind of coming up RJ right now. So
Jimmy John's, that's the sandwich place, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to go to Jersey Mike's, my man.
That wasn't really an option for today. So you know, this just kind of worked out, but I've been a Jimmy John's loyalist for a long time. This isn't like they're better than Jersey Mike's. It's just that's what it was today.
Because they're not. I've never actually been, in fairness.
We're all also very tired because this is the last non-NFC East thing I have. I was grateful that Monday night was not a dueling parallel, you know, set of Monday Night Football games, but kicking a game off at 9 Central. I can't even imagine for you. I don't even know if you watched the whole thing.
No.
Stop it. Enough. Just give us one game. Like, quit. You're doing way too much all the time. I don't care if people think the game sucks. The best part of it is being able to laugh at everything together or celebrate everything together. That's the whole point. You are ruining Monday Night Football this way. You had a good thing going when you brought Joe and Troy in. You finally brought some legitimacy to it. You figured out the announcing crew. That was a big old problem for you for a long time. Shout out to a former NFC Easter who came out of retirement, which is a subject today. But yeah, I mean, quit doing this. I hate it so much.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I have long ranted about how I think we cater too much to the West Coast when it comes to sports start times. I mean, what is it like? I forget the exact number, but the vast majority of the population in the United States lives in either the Eastern time zone or the Central time zone. So I know there's a lot of people in California and everything, but like, tough luck. Maybe you have to miss a little bit of the beginning of the game. Like, oh no, you'll still get to see the end.
Start the first one at 5 Central or 4 Eastern. Like that's just absurd. And if you're going to do or if you're going to do a 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern kickoff for the second game, make it 2 West Coast teams. I'm not a Texans fan, but that's absurd that I have a lot of, I live in Texas. There's a lot of Texans fans. Like, well, there's a handful, but like that's absurd that they had to wait that late. Make it like an OG Pac-12 game. Like, why are you doing this? It's really dumb, but whatever.
Part of my argument with this whole concept too is that it is easier to get up early than it is to like stay up late. Like when you stay up late, like you're kind of just screwed the next day. Like there isn't you can have coffee and stuff. Obviously there's things you can do to try to help out, but at some level you're just screwed. Whereas like if the game started earlier on Sundays, even like you can plan out the day before that to get up earlier. Like you have more time to plan that out than you do to really mitigate staying up late. I mean, you can try to get up later on Sunday, I guess. But anyway, this is
okay.
Probably not that compelling. You do have a question in the comments, by the way.
Yeah. Last thing. So David, first of all, said stripes. The 9 ball is fire. So
I like playing 9 ball.
Yeah.
Pool.
Yeah. It's
What's
great.
That game.
Great point. My apologies to Eagles Girl 52 and everyone. I incorrectly, in my speaking of time jumbledness when I scheduled the stream, set it for 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. It was supposed to be 12 Eastern, 11 Central. That was obviously when we started, so that's my bad. That's our generally set time for these shows.
I think almost every show except maybe one this season has been 11 Central, 12 Eastern.
I don't think we've said that out loud, but just for bookkeeping purposes moving forward, we generally start at 12 Eastern, 11 Central on Tuesdays, barring one of these teams playing on Monday Night Football or something crazy that throws us out of whack. And we were actually a few minutes late today because of the Max Crosby stuff, which we'll get to. Okay, let's start, Brandon. The Philadelphia Eagles won kind of a high stakes game in that they couldn't lose to Carson Wentz, especially in the moment they were in, coming off of 2 straight losses, and they survived. This game, I came about halftime. I was ready to come in here and talk about how it was a bit ugly, but it became rather pretty. And holy crap, AJ Brown, holy crap, Devontae Smith, holy crap, Jalen Hurts. This was a really kind of clinical Eagles game. I still feel like Minnesota left a lot out there, but I don't know how you can have any real problems if you're an Eagles fan. I don't know that everything feels better now because you're like perpetually in misery, but you got to feel good.
I don't think any team is happy. I saw, was it Greg Rosenthal tweet about that? About how he listens to a lot of different like individual team podcasts, and that makes sense because that's kind of how it's gone this season. Obviously, there are teams that probably are happier than I'm pretty sure Colts fans are pretty happy. Like this is a really good season for them as it relates to past season. So, and then the Chiefs are feeling like they're back. It's all relative. The Lions just beat the Bucks. For the Eagles, weird game as it usually is for them in that the first half, as I've said to you before, and you like to follow these stats from me where I'm like tweeting out the drive by drive and they're like not even gaining yards or getting negative yards. They had a series in this game after the opening drive, which in fairness, credit to them, really good opening drive for them. I think 12 plays, 75 yards, something like that, touchdown. The next 3 drives after that, it's just every single week there's like this stretch where the offense can't even move the ball at all. They had 3 drives that had 3 punts, and on the 9 plays within those 3 drives, they gained just 8 yards total. And that includes 18 yards that they had gained on 2 3rd and longs in there that were just, give up yards by the Vikings. So it's just like, it's so pathetic at times. My big takeaway that I have, and like we're not fully here because we need to see more proof of concept, but kind of pointing in that direction, the Eagles have lacked an identity on offense this year. It can't be, at least at this current time, what they did last year. They clearly are just not having success running the ball. That doesn't mean, you go away from it entirely and literally never run the ball. But that can't be like where you're starting it. That can't be like, we're just going to run the ball like we did last year and have that be our identity. And speaking of that, how much talk there was in the offseason by this very team about how it's not last year, then stop trying to do last year because you can't run the ball. What you can do is lean into your quarterback who Jalen Hurts hasn't been, awesome all season long. There's been inconsistency. He had his worst game of the year against the Giants just back in week 6. But he had his best game here, in part because You let him do what I've been calling, and I think a lot of people have been calling for them to do all season long. Let him take shots down the field. Nick Sirianni will talk about in his press conference how Jalen Hurts is one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL. And yet it feels like the offense at times doesn't give him those opportunities to do that. And in this game, there was some schematic stuff going on in terms of running under center and the play action that helped him out. But a lot of these plays were not the scheming. And as much as it was like Jalen Hurts making plays, it's almost to the point where I'm like, just let the players call the offense because they seem to have more of a clue of what's going on out there. So Jalen Hurts was great in this one. And to crystallize this for you again, I think the identity needs to be like lean into Jalen Hurts. Let him throw the ball, specifically like take shots down the field, invite variance. They want to try to like eliminate invariance and turnovers and stuff like that. I'm saying just let him throw it deep because you can see what happens with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown when you give them chances to make big plays down the field. It's obviously not going to be as consistent as it was in this game against the Vikings, but the first whatever weeks of the season, they just weren't doing that at all. This sounds so dumb that I even have to call for this. This should be obvious. Just throw the ball downfield to your two elite wide receivers.
So first of all, the sequence you talked about, the 3 possession sequence where they gained 8 yards or whatever it was, you could lump in you could call it a 4 possession sequence if you really wanted to, the end of half, possession if you want, you know what I'm saying? Like my point is like, it was even worse than like you're saying, like to amplify your point. But then everything obviously stabilized. Now to your Jalen point, David says in the chat, let Jalen cook. Yeah. It is super low hanging fruit to compare. I wouldn't even say Jalen Hurts to Russell Wilson, but like what the Eagles have going on to what the Seahawks had going on. There's a lot there, right? A lot of it too is that the Super Bowl, run and everything. Granted, Jalen in his Super Bowl performances has been way better than Russell was, even in the 2 that Seattle went to. But it was a team that was built more around other things than around the quarterback, like say the Chiefs, for example, or the Broncos who the Seahawks beat. I hope that point, that's not a shot at Jalen or a shot at the Eagles,
it's not. It's not a quarterback-centric team.
But the Seahawks evolved and became a quarterback-centric team as Russell, evolved himself and acquired more skills, became a better passer. And Russell very famously had an incredible deep ball, right? Like that was his thing. I mean, to some degree, I wouldn't say it's still his thing, but I mean, in the limited time we saw him this season,
the Cowboys saw that it's still his thing.
But so like, I don't know how to categorize or, label Jalen Hurts and, rank him or whatever. We've talked and the whole world has talked. He's a very unique quarterback and that's okay. Like we don't have to have the right conventional way to say or put him in a box next to his contemporaries or his peers or whatever. But what I would say is that the long-term future of this franchise over the next, call it 5 to 7 years, is probably going to go as he goes. And so you should lean into his strengths. There are definitely some weaknesses, and you should do what you can to mitigate those and take care of them. And that's not necessarily happening in a full and total sense at the moment. But yeah, I recognize it's kind of scary to trust a quarterback who has some issues. And that's, again, not a shot. But that's the best chance that the Eagles have consistently, not just in 2025, but in the foreseeable future in my mind.
So 2 things. Number 1, I think the through line here with Jalen Hurts for him being unique and there's inconsistencies is he's very consistently like a big game kind of player. I think this was a big game in terms of where it was in the Eagles season. They lose 2 games. It could have been an inflection point of like, are you going to lose this game and continue to lose? And then you're dropping to 4-3. You can maybe go to 4-4 before the bye. You blow this 4-0 lead. Like, I think this was a big spot for someone, and someone needed to step up in a big way after those 2 losses, and Jalen did. So I think you give him credit for that, and that's, again, been consistent through his career. Number 2, when I say throw the ball, like, I'm under no illusion that I don't think the Eagles build their offense with Jalen Hurts, like, dropping back 40 times. Like, that's not really the formula. Like, you still have to keep the passing number, the number of pass attempts in check, but there should be more deep passes. Like it's not about just throwing it more. So I'm saying it's not just about the volume of throws. It's about the, volume of more like shot plays. Like that needs to go up in a big, they need to take more chances down the field because whatever weaknesses Jalen does have, I think those can be mitigated by taking those shots down the field because like you don't need to hit on every single one. You could miss on 3, 4, whatever of those shot plays within a game, but the 2, even let's say the 2 or whatever you hit could be the difference in the game alone. So that's why it's been so frustrating to see them not chase that reward of those big plays. And again, that's what you saw. And again, that's kind of like a funny thing about this offense in this game. It was not a good offense from like a down-to-down basis. They were not, consistently able to move the ball at will. And that's why, I wonder like how sustainable that is each week. But while you can't do that and the running game isn't something you can just count on, then I say just lean into the variance and chuck the ball down the field. And I think that's I'm not saying you do that all season long, but right now, while the run game is not there, because it needs to get there eventually. And if it doesn't get there, then they're probably just cooked. But until you can figure that out, you need to lean into just chucking it down the field.
Brandon Graham is back.
Yeah.
It isn't. I'm very happy for you individually. You've talked emotionally before about how important he is to you individually and obviously to the Eagles. 2-time Super Bowl champion. Like, the man's resume speaks for itself. There's no real like gotcha way you can get somebody who's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. This does feel a little silly. And from what I've seen on the internet, I feel like most Eagles fans are like, he can do no wrong, but this is kind of weird. Like that seems to be the general take. Tell me if my assessment of how people are feeling is wrong.
Well, my take is that, I love Brandon Graham. He's my favorite Eagle. I think he is the all-time
feels kind of Jason Whitney. That's okay to say.
Quintessential. Well, I mean, Jason Witten didn't win 2 Super Bowls, so let's calm down there. Jason Witten
will be in the Hall of Fame.
Jason Witten one time had a catch where his helmet came off, and then he kept running instead of just going down, and that makes him an amazing player because every other player would have just.
Is Brandon Graham going to be in the Hall of Fame? Because Jason Witten's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Brandon Graham has a strip sack, and he's one of the most iconic plays in the history of the game. This is a weird comparison we're doing here, but anyway, so.
What do you mean it's a weird? It's the exact same comparison. Went to work in media, and actually Brandon Graham left sooner. Didn't even make it.
Brandon Graham didn't leave media because he sucked at it so bad that he had to go back to playing football, unlike Jason Witten did, and it was like a total embarrassment on national television. That's not the case here. Anyway, poor Jason Witten. I didn't even come in here and planning to trash him, but I mean, you're going too far here. So, I'm just conflicted because I love Brandon Graham, and I'm never gonna complain about watching him play for the Eagles. He was playing great last year before he got hurt. I don't doubt that he can be helpful. I just felt like, and the Eagles even admitted this. Howie Roseman, apparently, per Brandon Graham, back in the offseason, I forget which podcast this was, but Brandon Graham was saying on some podcast or some interview somewhere that he still wanted to play because he didn't want to go out where he felt like, he finished. Obviously, he played in the Super Bowl, but he was hurt most of the end of 2024. So he wanted to come back one more year, and he reasonably could have felt that way with how he was playing. But Howie basically said in not so many words, like, the story is too good. Like, you can't come back because you're going out as a 2-time Super Bowl champ. Like, don't screw that up. So I'm afraid that they kind of are going to screw that up. Now, I don't think that changes his legacy if he doesn't play well this year or he gets hurt. But I don't want to see him get hurt at a human level. Like, he has a wife and kids. Like, it would just bum me out so much if he comes back, even plays well for a little bit, and then gets hurt. I just don't love that. Now, they are in dire straits at edge rusher. That's a big factor in this. Like, they lose to Darius Smith. Even before
quit on them.
He did. Well,
he would rather leave than play for the Eagles, to be clear. He would rather not play at all than play.
I would tread lightly there. I did see some stuff that there might be some personal things going on there. I don't know what's happening there.
Well,
so
obviously, if that's the case,
yeah, I big deal. I don't know what's going on there, so I just don't want to comment on that too strongly. Just there's some tea leaf reading of there could be something going on behind the scenes there that may, I don't know. Maybe it's not. I have no idea. Anyway, I'd just be careful about how you take that direction. Anyway, they need to help at edge rusher because going into the season, they needed help at edge rusher, which is why they had interest in one Micah Parsons. After that, they lose Nolan Smith to IR. They lose Obo Okoronkwo to IR. Azeez Ojulari gets hurt in this most recent game, and they had interest apparently in Brandon Graham before that happened. So they're just really banged up as Darius Smith retires. They just do not have bodies right now at edge rusher. So from that standpoint, like I can't crush the team. And I don't fault Brandon Graham at all, to be clear. I want to make that clear. He should want to play. He's a football player. He likes playing football. But I just think, if anything, it should be more in the team to have some self-control and restraint and be like, BG, we love you. It's not personal, but it's just we think this is such the perfect end to your career, how it was already. But whatever. What I think is moot, and he's back now. And I'm going to be happy because I'm going to see him play again. And again, I do think he will help this team out. But I wish it could have been how it was.
I think that this is the danger from when you're a team that doesn't have, like the Eagles had never won the Super Bowl, and then you have, like, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but like, if there was some sort of power ranking of like most revered Eagles of all time now, certainly after the second title, Brandon is on. He's like what, number 5 or something like that. Like he's extraordinarily high, right? Like he has an immense. That's what I'm saying. Like he has my point is like he has an immense amount of pool and leeway with the front office and with the fans. Like, you know, when he's 50 years old and does a radio interview and says something, like those words will be so powerful because of what he did, right? Like it's like what happens when Troy Aikman speaks for the Cowboys, right? Like, or on behalf of the Cowboys, whatever. Like you view it that way. I think that point is understood. It's like I mentioned Florida firing Billy Napier. It's like when Steve Spurrier says a word about it and everybody's like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're the dudes who lifted the franchise up. So their you know, voice holds weight. And so to that point, I don't think anyone can. I don't even think Howie Roseman can. If Brandon Graham's like, I want to play, I think it's like, okay, you know, that's my assessment of the situation. I agree with several people in the chat who are saying that this is about vibes or leadership or locker room. If that's true, I don't mean this in a silly way. And I also extend the best wishes to Zadarius Smith for whatever may or may not be going on, obviously. But that would be kind of sad if this is like you know, we need someone to help keep the locker room calm. We need the substitute teacher, you know, to come in and chill. I haven't said a negative word about Nick Sirianni this season, but I would really call into question, like, what are you doing that you have to call, like you have to bring in this like team mascot to come, you know, help with your locker room.
Did you see my tweet on Sunday? Because that's literally what I said at one point during the game. I was like, what is Nick Sirianni bringing to the table right now? As the offense is struggling, as the vibes are weird, like what is it? What is he helping this team with? Now, you know, they won the game. And he did make a couple good decisions in terms of aggressiveness. They went for a 4th and 4 on their first drive. They set the tone early. They also decided to, I believe, very wisely pass the ball at the end of the game, where I think a lot of coaches, a lot of teams would have just run 3 straight times, make the Vikings call their timeouts, and then punt the ball. I did not like that approach there. As they were up 6 points, I wanted them to just end the game because I did not trust the running game to get the job done there. So there were some good things, but overall, to this point, this is supposed to be one of the biggest things, the vibe thing. So, and I don't think that's the biggest reason for the signing, to be clear. I don't think that's the biggest impetus, but that would be a fair criticism if it was the case.
Are we ready to move on to the Cowboys?
The Cowboys are now second in the NFC East. I think that's, I don't remember every week this season, but for a while here, they have not been in second. Usually
they have not, because they lost in week 1 and they've you know, been in third ever since. And I think this was the first week. We have to come up with a name for this for the mixtape a few years in at this point, where the Cowboys and Eagles are the only 2 who win. You know what I'm saying? Like that's you know, it's a certain kind of week, and this is I believe this is the first one of that kind in 2025. The Cowboys blasted the Commanders, and they're being connected to Max Crosby. We'll get to that here on Tuesday. It's happening for anyone watching late, but kind of a game early on, and then it was 8-7 after the safety and Washington going for 2 and not getting it and whatnot. They did not have Terry McLaurin or Deebo Samuel or Noah Brown, if you want to throw him into the mix there, obviously. But they haven't had McLaurin for most of the season, or Noah Brown. So this was, as Bob Sturm wrote about it in his morning thoughts after, this was kind of like what Washington's been doing all you know, you can certainly argue.
They didn't have Deebo, who you love.
No. That's what I was about to say. That not having McLaurin is like, that wasn't a new variable for the most part of the season, but not having Deebo certainly was. And Deebo was a huge factor in their Chargers win. So like, if there was any kind of, you know, adjustment, it was not having Deebo, but they did have Jaden Daniels coming back. I've seen a lot of Commanders fans now really having some self-reckoning about this whole situation. But we're not here to talk about the Commanders yet. We're here to talk about the Cowboys side of this because they're in second place. Dak Prescott is playing, I would offer, the quarterback position better than anybody in the NFL right now. We're only at week 8, and get your jokes off and your memes and everything like that. CeeDee Lamb was back and had an incredible touchdown. George Pickens continued to thrive. Jake Ferguson is on fire. Javonte Williams looked great. And the defense did not play zone for the entire game, which was a new development. Got a Deron Bland pick 6, which came at a time that really put the game, you know, out of reach and kind of started the party and really made it feel like 2023 again. So it was kind of a no notes sort of game. I don't think anybody is of the mindset like, oh, everything's fixed, everything's awesome now. I think that this game was, this is, if you look at the way the Cowboys played on Sunday, this is the way that they can be, like in their best version. Obviously, the offense thriving and the defense, in this particular case, doing way more than enough, but doing enough to keep the offense ahead and keep the overall team playing from ahead. And if that happens on a week-by-week basis, or if they were able to make the playoffs or anything like that, that formula is hard to beat. And again, you can make your jokes about the Cowboys and blah, 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 but it worked to the degree that it did on Sunday because it was working in particularly perfect harmony.
Yeah, I talked about the Eagles kind of having an inflection point kind of game there in Minnesota. I think this was an inflection point game for the Cowboys. I think if they lose that game, they drop to 2-4-1. Like, it's not season over, but it's kind of like season over at that point, because then all of a sudden now you've lost 2 games in the division, and you're just, the bad vibes are continuing. You're dropping down. And I mean, even with this win, they're 10th in the NFC playoff picture. So like they still have work to do here. And they have some opportunities coming up with a bit of a soft schedule over the next couple of weeks, right? To kind of capitalize on this. So I'm interested to see if they can build on this, or if this more of just a season of like, oh, they win a game, oh, they lose the game. It's kind of inconsistent throughout, but absolutely no denying Dak Prescott playing at a very high level right now. And it's just, the defense is a question mark. We'll see. But if the offense can play this well, they're going to have a chance, I would say, most weeks just because of that, even if the defense isn't pulling their weight.
So upcoming few weeks for the Cowboys. They are in Denver this week, taking on a Broncos team that, shout out to them. I mean, but we'll get there in a moment, obviously. But Cowboys visit the Broncos on Sunday, return home to host the Cardinals on Monday Night Football. Then they're on their bye. And when they come out of the bye, they're back on Monday Night Football visiting the Las Vegas Raiders. It's the Cowboys' actually first trip to Las Vegas ever. Since the Raiders obviously moved there. They've hosted the Las Vegas Raiders, but they have yet to play, obviously, in Las Vegas in a regular season game, to be perfectly clear. And so I think that the low-hanging fruit kind of place to go to as a Cowboys fan is, man, if you beat the Broncos on Sunday, you could rip off 4 in a row, obviously dating back to the Commanders win. And that would, conceivably, theoretically, maybe put you, if you're able to do this, if you're able to hold everything together, at 6-3-1 when you host the Philadelphia Eagles, and get ready for, that big breath you're going to have to take, starting with that game through Thanksgiving, through the Thursday after. It gets a lot more hectic there. And so in that respect, you could argue that this is kind of a critical season-defining stretch, and that the Broncos game's difficult. There's no doubt about that. But the ones after that are not on paper. And so if you can do this, if you can give yourself this lead, relatively, figuratively speaking, right now, it can really help you sustain what's going to be a rockier path once mid-November, late November, and December finally arrive.
Yeah, they need to build up some equity, some room for error in this next stretch here, because then there's not going to be a lot of that, starting with that Eagles game, and then the Chiefs, and the Lions, and the Vikings, and the Chargers, the Commanders again. And then even the Giants, who, we'll get to them, looking more friskier, obviously, than we expected this season. So, they absolutely have to capitalize here. And we'll see, too, if they do anything in the trade market.
So that takes us to Max Crosby.
My apologies. That segue there?
Yeah, my apologies to all for us starting 5 minutes after an hour after I originally set the stream for on accident. But Trey Wingo reported, there has no offense to Trey, who's a friend of Blog of the Boys, had him on a few months ago, but no, I wouldn't call Trey an NFL insider. But
wow, that sounds like an offense to me.
But obviously, someone who has a number of connections and sources across the NFL. So I don't in any way doubt the legitimacy of this. All I'm saying is this isn't Ian Rappaport or Mike Garafolo or something like that. But Trey Wingo, out of nowhere, on Tuesday morning tweets out that the Cowboys have reportedly inquired about Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Max Crosby. He also did the thing I love when insiders do, like I hate love. When they tag,
he's not an insider.
Well, I know, but when they tag the team accounts in these reports,
that is funny.
What do you expect? Like the Raiders are going to respond to your tweet?
I think they're going to retweet it.
Yeah, or something like that. I find that funny when anyone tags the team accounts for anything. It's really funny to me. The team is going to respond. But so there is some question or confusion or whatever about this idea. At the moment, the Cowboys obviously hold 2 first-round picks, and our tracker, I'm about to push out and refresh at blogontheboys.com. Their pick, Dallas's, is 13th, and Green Bay's is 31st at this moment, following Week 7. Obviously, that is subject to change across the rest of the season. So it's really strange because when you see a team, I think we both agree that this would likely involve a first-round pick, right? One of Dallas's
at
2.
least one, yeah,
right. And what I was thinking about is typically when you see this happen, the team trades their own, right? Because they're betting on themselves, like being good. So, but like if you're the Cowboys, do you give up Green Bay's right now? Like that's an interesting.
The Raiders probably want the Cowboys. They're going to want that higher pick too.
That's an interesting way to bet on yourself, and I'm never opposed to betting on yourself, to be clear. But Max Crosby, if they give up one of the ones, forget where they each ultimately land. You're looking at effectively turning Micah Parsons into Max Crosby and Kenny Clark and cap space, because Max Crosby is signed through 2030 2029, excuse me. He's a 2030 free agent. So, and he's at a lower rate, obviously, than Micah Parsons is. So I think that's how you would square it in your mind. I'm not opposed to that. And if that, they could have done it all, to be very clear. But if that serves as an impetus towards keeping George Pickens, having gotten Tyler Smith done, Deron Bland done, all these other things, like I suppose
they could have done those anyway, though. Like you said,
I just said that.
Like I said, like you said.
Okay, so they could have done all those things anyway. But if they get, my ultimate take is like, I obviously would love this, but and Max Crosby without question really helps. But this also is just great to see. It's great to see that they recognize we have a quarterback playing at this level. We have to maximize this. We have to capitalize. We have to. Like you're never promised this type of quarterback performance or what George Pickens is doing opposite of CeeDee Lamb and all this stuff. So yeah, by all means, send one of the first round draft picks to go get Max Crosby. And obviously, if they get him for anything less than that, like party. Like then it becomes a really interesting matter of comparing the Micah trade and the hypothetical Crosby trade.
I would like Max Crosby on the Eagles. It's very possible that both of those teams could be bidding for him, considering, the Eagles, again, had interest in trading for Micah. So something to monitor. I tend to think the Raiders won't trade him. It just seems like he's one of those players who, even though the Raiders probably should trade him, they just won't. I could be wrong about that, but that's just the sense I get. It seems like Mark Davis really likes him a lot. So we'll see.
Along those lines, because the Raiders have some serious introspection to do. I wonder if Pete Carroll's back in 2027. I'm sorry, 2026. Like
that's another reason why I don't think they'll do the trade. I think it's dumb, but I think you hire Pete Carroll to win now, right? So you're not thinking about.
Well, but you're not winning now, and so I mean, and they have to start over. They have to start over at quarterback. And this is kind of a weird point, but I think it's interesting. Shout out to David Howman, one of our staffers. He pointed out, if the Raiders reach a place where it's a matter of, hey, we need to move on. Hey, we messed up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Pete Carroll is very famously very close with Brian Schottenheimer. Like that's his pupil. Like that's his guy. So like, if you're going to move on from the guy you don't want to move on from, if you've squared in your mind, like, hey, we really didn't want things to come to this, but let's set Max free. It kind of makes sense to send him to somebody who and trust and admire, and send Max to a place where he can thrive.
That doesn't make sense, though, from the standpoint you just said. Like, if they don't care about Pete Carroll at all at that point, then why does he have say in the trade?
Oh, the Raiders. Oh, that's if Pete is like, hey, this would involve Pete being around for the foreseeable future and being like, this project was more serious than I believed. I messed up. I thought Gino was going to be awesome, and I convinced John. That was my bet. So.
I want to call out. First of all, the quick detour. I think was it Holden? Someone was saying we aren't fighting enough on the podcast. So there you go. There was some contention earlier. Maybe it wasn't him. Well, don't say that about him. It's pretty disrespectful. Number 2, where was I going to go with this? I don't know. You start talking again, then I'll remember it.
Well, I mean, for now, we can put a pin in the Max Crosby thing, but I am convinced that the Cowboys are going to do something, because Adam Schefter spoke on his podcast about like, this is, the Cowboys are very interested, whatever. I really do think that, though, that like last year was clearly a holy crap, what can we do to just like get some kind of attention? Let's trade for Jonathan Mingo. I really believe that this year it's a matter of how can we help? like how can we help? How can we make sure that we get something out of this window right now, 2025, because of what we have going on? That may not wind up being Max Crosby. The price may not be right, but I'm very, very, very confident that the Cowboys are going to find some way to improve their defense before the November 4th deadline. It should be noted that the deadline is the day after their first Monday night game, the game against the Cardinals, and their first game out of the bye, because they're on bye at that point, and obviously after the deadline, is against the Raiders. So it would be kind of strange. I don't know how anyone would search this, but the Cowboys would conceivably, in one season, in one half of a season, host their former pass rusher in a primetime game in Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers, and then take their new pass rusher to visit his old team in a primetime game in a hypothetical Max Crosby trade when they would visit the Raiders. Once again, their first trip to Las Vegas ever in the regular season.
My take that I forgot and just remembered has nothing to do with what you just said, but it was just a little bit of a call out to the NFL hipster Twitter who, tough season for them in terms of the quarterbacks they love. Geno Smith. Oh, Geno's so amazing. No, he's not. He stinks. Sam Darnold. What a mistake by the Seahawks to, well, I didn't love the move to sign him, to be clear, but I did like the move off of Geno Smith. That's worked out pretty well for them, I would say. And also, what's the other big one? Well, Justin Fields, again, terrible.
Oh,
that's
while we're just like taking care of our like junk drawer takes, I'm a little bit out on the Vikings. I've really respected them.
What do you mean? This isn't bold.
No.
They don't have a quarterback.
Hang on. I've really respected them for a long time, dating back to 2022. I was like the only person in the world who gave them props for that season. Granted, they lost in the wild card round, but I think that
quarterback who doesn't win.
I have a lot of takes on record about supporting Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings, and it's not unique to believe that he can develop quarterbacks, certainly. But to that point, this whole first half of the season, I think we've all rightfully extended some grace and benefit of the doubt to him for this JJ McCarthy thing, even though it's been incredibly weird, incredibly awkward how they just, after the Bears game on Monday Night Football, were like, oh, he's hurt, but he's not on injured reserve. And then there was everybody calling out the Schefter report about how it was always 6 weeks, but whatever, like that was so stupid. And he was in uniform in the game. So my point is,
the emergency third quarterback. Yeah.
So my point is, they have really burned up that benefit of the doubt. I'm no longer willing to give you any kind of trust that you know what you're doing here. I don't know if I believe that JJ McCarthy sucks. I don't know if I believe that there's some weird drama.
I think they think he sucks. I think that's clear.
That is just, it's a very strange situation. And this is a symptom or an example of, I don't want to say being a small market, but being a team that no one really cares about. Like we bring this up a lot with the Cam Akers thing, but if this exact situation were happening with the Cowboys or with the Eagles, even it would lead every national sports talk show for every single day of the week. But everyone's like, they'd rather, it's okay. It's fine. This is so silly and stupid and dumb, and no one is willing to say that in a serious way, except for us.
We don't bring up the Cam Akers thing. You bring up the Cam Akers thing. Number one, two. Yeah, I mean, they're last in that division. They're just not even really that relevant. I do think it's a good roster. I do. Honestly, they probably should have traded for Joe Flacco, because if they had Joe Flacco right now, they would be like they're obviously not a Super Bowl contender, but they would be like a legit team, and they're just not a legit team right now.
What made me remember to bring it up in our junk drawer segment, which is a new thing, I guess, was you brought up Sam Darnold. They let Sam Darnold walk. Like, I don't know how, if you're a Vikings fan, you can't be feeling some type of way. And they let Daniel Jones walk, which is a little bit silly to say, but is not silly to say. Like, if Kevin O'Connell really is this great evaluator of quarterbacks, I mean, how could he have missed this badly on what would be 3 different evaluations: Darnold, Jones, and obviously McCarthy?
Yeah.
So
the other one was, speaking of Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson. People were acting like it was a war crime that they didn't 40% of his passes last year. Not that I thought Daniel Jones was going to be this good, but it's like it's not inconceivable to me that Daniel Jones beat out Anthony Richardson in training camp. Anyway,
let's move on, and you're going to like this. I stand by not having this take. I felt that it was ridiculous and silly of you to lean so hard on it. But it has But it has aged well, at the very least, that you hated on Washington's roster being so old. And look, I'm not moving from thinking it was silly, but now I'm seeing Commanders fans doing that thing where like you gas an idea up, and then because you lose, all of a sudden you think it's dumb. Like now they're, I think terrified of the reality that last year was a flash in the pan, that last year was just an outlier, and it's kind of looking that way. You know, I think Debo has played very well. I stand by that. I mean, the Laramie Tunsil thing, the Von Miller stuff, like all these different things, whatever. But they got their ass whooped. Like, they did not just lose, they got their ass whooped. And Jaden Daniels at no point in the game looked comfortable. And when we think about this is a defense, and granted, they did different things, you know, they played more man coverage and whatnot, but we're talking about a defense that last week Bryce Young dominated, that old Russell Wilson dominated, that Caleb Williams dominated. And so it's not just that you lost, it's that you looked so clunky and out of sorts. And obviously he got hurt, and we wish him the best. That goes without saying. But before the injury, he looked awful. And Dan Quinn looked overwhelmed. This was like when the Cowboys had Dan Quinn and they were just kicking everybody's teeth in.
A really alarming loss for the Commanders. In fairness, again, they were missing their top 3 receivers, which, as you said, isn't totally new to them this season, but it is for the first time missing literally all 3. So, it's tough. At the same time, Baker Mayfield has been missing a lot of his receivers this season, is obviously balling the heck out for the most part.
Dak Prescott was just missing CeeDee Lamb. We could play this game with a million different players. You know what I mean? So
100%. Yeah, I'm looking up Marshawn Lattimore's coverage stats here, because man, what a brutal trade! Everyone's like, "Oh, that was an amazing trade last year."
I also supported that. I supported going for it when you were close, and they almost pulled it off. But
sometimes you have to question, why is this team giving this player up? And clearly, the Saints had the right read that. And also, betting on an aging corner is like not a great bet. That's not like the best bet to make. And he has been terrible this year. He was terrible last year. He was banged up. They thought maybe getting him healthy, I think, would make a difference. Has not. I'll read this to you from Hogs Haven right now, under their Studs and Duds article that they did from the Cowboys game. Marshawn Lattimore. This was an absolutely, all caps, horrible trade by Adam Peters. Now is the time to move on. Trade him, cut him, whatever. He just has to go. Like, it's brutal. I'm seeing a lot of slander here for Bobby Wagner as well. Again, great year last year, but another aging player. They're banged up. A lot of aging players are hurt. You talked about Debo. Okay, he's under a contract for only the season. So, it's a fine win move. Okay, but the point is, they should have not been.
Now you're moving the goalpost.
No.
He's been a fine player. That his age has not been a factor for Debo specifically, but it has been for the others. I'll give you the others, as long as you admit.
Yeah, but his age is a factor in trying to build a long-term sustainable thing here.
We can find a way to hate on every trade, but Debo is not in the camp of they're old, and their oldness is a part of why they're hurting the team. Right?
It's not meaningful. His playing well this year is not actually meaningful at all.
It was huge in their win against the Chargers. It was absolutely meaningful in their
this year. So you're just wasting a pick and wasting money.
Okay, but that now you're being macro and obtuse.
The whole point is a macro conversation.
But it's also a micro conversation. They don't win that Chargers game without Debo Samuel. So right. But to your point, you can't find anything positive and be like, that doesn't happen without in 2025. That doesn't happen without Marshawn Lattimore. That doesn't happen without Laramie Tunsil.
Is a move that only helps you in a year where you were already going to take a step back. That's not really an amazing move in the bigger picture. That's my only point.
My point then and now was that they tried. Your insistence on being they're losers for not just accepting that they suck and dealing with that forever.
That's not what I said.
They tried and it didn't work. I will always admire and respect gumption, and they had it. They had some miscalculations. No. There's no doubt about that at this point. But the Debo one was not one of them, except for the fact that, to your point, but they might view it as some weird teams do, like the Cowboys sometimes, we'll get a comp pick if somebody signs been free agency. That's not going to happen here.
That's stupid.
But it is stupid. But my point is, relative to 2025, the trade for Debo has been successful. Obviously, he missed the game, and you could argue that missing the game was a symptom of being old or whatever. But he absolutely helped them win one of the few wins that they've had so far this season.
We got to talk about Jaden Daniels, who I still think has the potential to be the best quarterback in this division for years to come. But these injury issues aren't nothing. And, he's a very slight player. And also just overall, there's regression from last year. And when he has the specific injury that he does here, a hamstring injury, they have to give him time to get that right, because with his style of play, if he's not able to run at all, it's not that he still can't have success as a passer, but that's a pretty big hindrance there all of a sudden. So I just think I still very high on Jaden Daniels' long-term outlook here, but I think people crowned him a bit too early. There's a lot of And what does this really matter? There's a lot of like lists this offseason that had him like top 4, top 5 quarterback, like one of the best already. Like, I just think people gave him a lot of credit before seeing the kind of consistency that you need to see in the NFL. There's quarterbacks who have one-off great seasons, Nick Foles, other quarterbacks who do this, Case Keenum. I'm not saying he's those, but I'm saying you don't know what you have after one season, and we need to see more than that. And so far in his second season, we're seeing some disappointment.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think you can make an argument that he's the worst quarterback in the division right now. Obviously, now he's potentially hurt and whatnot. We're talking about just performance. Like Jackson Dart has, I think, outperformed him in the times that they've been healthier, times that they've been playing for Dart specifically. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where I saw it. It might have been Grant Paulson. I know we both follow a lot of Washington people, Washington media people and stuff, but somebody said, so apologies for whoever said it, but you now have to have a serious conversation about the, injury proneness of Jaden Daniels. Like, you're talking about 3 different, people use the word serious kind of heavily when it comes to injuries, but like 3 different somewhat serious injuries, that he's had in not even 2 full seasons. And to your point, to the collective point, those are massive relative to his specific playing style. These aren't injuries that have nothing to do with how he specifically plays the quarterback position. And so if they inhibit his playing style, well, now he's not the quarterback that he was, and he might still be great. He might become just an amazing pocket passer or, pure passer, whatever, and be able to thrive that way. But one of his absolute strengths and full and total points of skill has been his mobility. And if we're seeing that leads to, wear and tear and injuries, then man, and this wasn't even this injury. And again, I wish him well. I know we both do. I know that's not up for debate or anything like that. This wasn't like he was on the run or out of the pocket or scrambling or anything like that. This was just Shamar James blitzing and just an unfortunate tackle. And so, to that point, it's arguable that this wasn't, in direct response to his playing style, but it calls it all into question is the collective point.
And go back to just he's slight. Like Cam Newton, some of these bigger quarterbacks, like the advantage of them, not that they didn't have their own injury issues, but like part of the bonus of being bigger, like your body can take that. Like Jaden Daniels is so slight that I just feel like sometimes I think that, the wear and tear could be different for him. I'll leave you with this line here from Hogs Haven, that same article I just mentioned. It goes, this is the very last line of the article. For as much as we all feel Adam Peters can do no wrong, is it time to question some of his moves? Yes. It always was.
Commanders, by the way, this week. Also, I realized this last week. It was Cowboys' first time playing them this season. I've gotten used to it. I've gotten used to Commanders. I didn't think that I ever would, but it feels natural at this point in time. I don't know if you agree with that, but I brought that up because
it does feel weird. It doesn't feel unnatural to me in the present, but when talking about them, when they did have a different name and referring to that team as this team name, which should, I'm not advocating for the old name, but it does feel like weird in terms of like that wasn't what they were actually called at the time. So I had to like make that
the current team, brain. Whatever you want to call them, are 3-3, and on the subject of the number 3, their next 3 games are
3 and 4.
You're right. I'm sorry, 3 and 4. Excuse me. They're at Arrowhead. Yikes. And then home against Seattle, the Washington Bowl, and then home against the Lions.
That's tough. And yeah, we'll see how much of that, Mark Mariota's actually played relatively well when he's had to start for them. Didn't play so well in relief of Jaden Daniels there against the Cowboys, but it's not like they're left for dead. Like he's one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league, I would say. I think they can potentially win maybe like one of those games if let's say had to play all 3. But man, they probably need more than one win from that stretch, especially if they want to compete for the division title.
Did you see the win probability chart for the Giants? Have you seen this floating around?
Yes.
It's beautiful. It's incredible. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. Wow. I think though that if you're a Giants fan, I really think this was the best case scenario. I
think it's a very fair point.
Yeah, when you remove yourself from the emotion of it all, I know it's frustrating. Like I've been there, I will be there again, but you got to see your team play and fight and do a lot of things. And the mistakes in this game were direct results of coaching. And the loss serves as more momentum to get the coaches out of the building.
Right.
But the ingredients you have are right and true and proper. So I think again, When the emotions fade, you'll be happy. You'll look back and say that was a good day, that loss in Denver.
For the big picture, yes. For the macro. For the micro, no. I do wonder. I'm very interested to see this Eagles-Cowboys game or Eagles-Giants game this weekend, considering the Giants took it to the Eagles last time. I wonder how the Giants respond to this one. I wonder if it could be we're angry, so we're going to go out again. I think that could also be like
the floodgates open.
Yeah, I think it could be like the total. You just lose your confidence and like things get ugly. So I do think, again, totally agree. Good for the big picture, the long term. Could be pretty bad for the short term here. So very curious to see how the Giants look this week.
There isn't a lot to say other than like, holy crap, as well. but Jackson Dart looks great. Cam Scatterboo is amazing. Like, their energy is a very clear thing. And to your point, and we'll get to spinning forward, I guess, right now. But if you're able to stop the bleeding and get a win, hypothetically, then like if you didn't have enough of a reason to buy into that duo in the future, I mean, they're really proving to you that, hey, we're not that same team that like we will stumble still, but we won't just let it all, we won't everything be, come undone. We'll find a way to stand tall. Like that would be impressive, obviously, this week.
I'm really interested to see what they do at the trade deadline, because I think it probably makes sense for them to both buy and sell. Obviously, like, you sell Russell Wilson, but then maybe you try to buy a receiver who can not only help this year, but also more so importantly for seasons beyond this year. So I think they have some potential to make like a splashy move that could serve them for years to come. As well as, if they're smart, they will sell off some of these pieces that they are not going to be long-term fixtures for this organization moving forward.
Are we ready to do week 8 picks?
Yeah. Wow, we're already at 51 minutes. This episode,
I know, that was kind of why the Giants didn't get a lot of time, just because my Jimmy Johns is going to be here soon. So
wow. What did you get?
I got a country club with no tomato and no mayo.
Wow.
Gross. And 2 bags of barbecue chips.
Wow.
It's a big day. Okay. We did that discussion in NFC East standing order. We do this discussion in chronological order of how the games are being played. Before that, do you have any anxiety about already being at week 8?
No. I'm actually, because I'm enjoying. I do think the season is flying by. Yes, to get to that part of it, but favorite month of the year, so doing good. And also, Eagles bye week is coming up after this game, so and that's like a really nice time just to be like almost. There's no really halfway anymore with the even number season, but to be in a week 9 bye is a pretty good deal there.
There's a literal halfway because there are 18 weeks in the regular season,
So they play, but no, because they play 8 games before that, and then they're going to play 9 games after that.
There is a halfway point of the season at large.
Sure, but not for like your team in terms of the even number of games like there used to be.
We have 3 games. Have another intra-division game this week, as teased. The Philadelphia Eagles are hosting the New York Giants. Is there any? Is this a Kelly Green game?
Yes, the Eagles have never lost in Kelly Green, which they will be
ever
again.
Or like
and since they brought it back, they're 4-0 in those games. They're also wearing that jersey against the Cowboys this year in Dallas.
In the old Reebok days, like Mike Vick, Nick Foles, or Kevin Cobb, like whenever they wore it back then.
They only did that. They did lose that game. That was like it was an anniversary game, but that's not. It wasn't the same jersey.
Okay, gotcha. But so recently, like the last whatever it's been 2-3 years, something
2023, they brought it back. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So the Kelly Green Eagles are 7-point favorites at home against the New York Giants.
They were, for context, they were 7.5-point favorites on the road against the Giants in MetLife when these two teams played back in Week 6.
Wow, that is quite a cut into it by the G-men.
And yet, though, still a big line, as we like to say. Big number. What do you think? I'll let you go first.
I took the Vikings last week outright.
You're still, winless? Or winless straight up?
Winless straight up. No, I think I took them to
We talk about this every week, and I can never get it right.
But I know for sure I got the spread right in week 1. Like, that's the only time I got the spread right. I think I'm going to take the points. Wow. I'm going to take the Eagles, but the points.
I feel better about the Eagles now after you did that.
I mean, dude, that's just, because I do kind of feel that not in a this is different, but like these are different Giants. They might not be like fully ready to rock Giants, but they are definitely different. And so I don't think that they will get embarrassed. So they might lose by 6 or 5, but that's a touchdown. I mean, and the Eagles offense did look better last week, but has also looked like trash a lot of points this season. So if points are what's up for grabs, I will take the points, but I will take the Eagles to win.
I think that's fair. I don't think the Eagles have just reached a point where they just deserve all the benefit of the doubt in the world yet again, just because they won last week. I will say, I'm going to put it out there that like, if they're going to be a serious team this year, you have to come out and put out, obviously, a much better effort than you had because you were not ready to play against that Giants team in that game. And they clearly just wanted it more than the Eagles do. The Eagles need to come out in this one and be offended that they got beat up so badly a couple of weeks ago and shouldn't even have it come close again like that. So I'll actually take them to cover here because I do think they're going to be looking out for revenge. I think they're going to be playing a lot harder, going to be really motivated, and especially with the bye on the other end of this too, because it's kind of going to be like, okay, empty the tank. Also, maybe Brandon Graham's playing. Who knows? I just think the vibes have rebounded a little bit. Jalen Hurts, I'm going to put confidence in him. And the Giants are dealing with some injuries. So are the Eagles. So ultimately, I'm going to take the Eagles here to cover this game. I could see them having a decisive win, although dangerous, famous last words, because they rarely don't do that anymore, it feels like. But I could see them going out, winning this one, and then entering the bye on a high note.
See, like I like to look, as you know, at the over-unders as well and kind of measure them relative to, the line. Mm-hmm. And in this is one of the lower over-unders, not the lowest. The lowest is Cleveland, New England, and then San Francisco, Houston. But this is tied for the third lowest, and it's 43.5. So you're talking about like that would be like what, 27
to 20.
Yeah, 27 to 20. I mean, I think the Giants are capable of putting up more points than that. And so are the Eagles. And that's why I'll take the Eagles to win. But almost an identical situation. The Bengals are hosting the Jets. The Bengals are 6.5 point favorites, not 7, but also an over-under of 43.5. And I think that would, maybe not against the Jets, but like that would be a little bit fishy. That's why I'll take the points, but I think the Eagles win. Okay, I'll let you go first here. The Dallas Cowboys are in Denver. And they are 3.5 point dogs.
Yeah, I'm going to take the points, but I think the Broncos win the game. The Broncos, for as much as they're not a juggernaut, I will give them, they have fight to them. Like not only just this Giants game, but they came back from 19 down, 19-0 against the Giants. They came back from 17-0 against the Eagles. They won that game late against the Jets there. Like they do have some like gumption, a word you like, to them. And I think they're well coached by Sean Payton, even though I do not like him, so that's tough to admit. But it's hard to bet against the Cowboys with their scoring ability right now, and I think they, are probably feeling good in a way that they should be after that win over Washington. But playing in Denver and that Broncos team kind of just having something, they kind of just have, I don't want to say like it's their year, because I don't think they're, winning the Super Bowl, but they do have this it factor, something. They have something to them. I can't quite put my finger on it. They have some character. And I think that, therefore, it's a close game. But I do think the Cowboys cover. I think it's going to be like a field goal game, and that half point comes into play for Dallas.
On the subject of field goals, 2 factors that every Cowboys fan is watching in this game. This is Brandon Aubrey's 67-yard watch because you're in Denver. So, you have a chance to, if the circumstances work out, really attempt something massive here, which would be kind of cool to see, And I always say, like, the circumstances are end of half. Like, you're never going to see them attempt, like, a 70-yard field goal.
They should attempt an 80-yard field goal with him. He could probably make it.
I mean, but you can't risk surrendering that field position, which is why it has to be.
You should do it.
It has to be like an end of half situation. Also, Javonte Williams' revenge game. Visiting the Broncos. So I'm going to take the Cowboys here. I do think it will be difficult. I think Bo Nix, kind of like the Broncos, doesn't get a lot of for a while, the Broncos were like forced on us nationally, and then they just went away. And so now they've become so underrated that they're a little overrated. You know what I'm saying? Or vice versa. You could be both at the same time, I think. But my point is, I don't think we talk enough about Bo Nix. He's playing really well. He was awesome. But I think that kind of like you talked about the Giants and what do we get the week after, I do wonder if there is this little bit of a letdown, a little bit of a like, last week was crazy, type thing. You can't fly that close to the sun, multiple weeks in a row. But the Cowboys have a weird history with the Broncos. And so, they have to overcome that. But I'll take the Cowboys, especially at the very least, I'm taking the points. To your point.
Do you think Broncos legend DeMarcus Ware will be at this game?
No, they were all I don't know if you saw this. They were like Broncos legends were at their game last week. They celebrated their 2015 title and
they did.
The late Demaryius Thomas going into their, I don't know if it's called Ring of Fame or Ring of Honor, but it was really, heartwarming to see all the Broncos players there. So he was there. I saw he was posted a bunch of stuff there. But also
teams need to stop calling their Hall of Fame the Hall of Fame. The Eagles do that, and I don't like that. Because then you say Eagles Hall of Famer, but that could be like, the Eagles player who is a Pro Football Hall of Famer, or it could be a member of the Eagles Hall of Fame, which are different things. So it should be Ring or something.
Ring of Honor is what the Cowboys call it. Some people go Ring of Fame. I have long advocated that name should be mascot specific. So it should be like the saloon for the Cowboys or the nest for the birds.
Nest.
Or the one I always like is the hangar for the Jets. I think that would be super cool.
I actually agree.
Thank you.
What would the Giants be? What's the NFC East version of all this? That's a tougher one.
I don't know what you would call the NFC East. We should come up with an NFC East Hall of Fame though, and have we'll do that in the spring and in the off season. We'll have an inaugural NFC East Hall of Fame class, 2 members from each team.
Wow.
One actually 5 members from each team. We'll break it down by decades.
The battlefield for the Commanders. How do you like that?
No, I think it's got to be like you could honestly go like the Pentagon. You know what I mean? Like that makes some like geographical sense. Or like the War Room. I know that's an NFL term, but the War Room kind of works.
I can't think of the Giants one. I was thinking of I think Valhalla came to mind, but that's more the Vikings.
No, you can't take that from the Vikings.
What is a giant? Actually, where do giants live? A good question. I'm gonna Google that. Where do giants live? Jotunheim. There you go.
Dude, that's an awesome name.
Yeah.
Guys,
I solved it.
This weekend, Michael Strahan is going into Jotunheim. Dude, that sounds sick.
You got Valhalla for the Vikings, and then you got Jotunheim for the Giants.
It should be team specific.
We should make an article for this for SB Nation, because there's some content right there.
Yeah, and then we can have AI generate images of what these places would look like.
That's terrible.
No, but people do this AI generated stadiums to look like the team mascot. I'm not talking about stadium. I'm talking about what would it literally look like? Like you can see the hangar. You know what I'm saying? And imagine a hangar with physical jets that one says Joe Namath and whatever. So imagine what does Jotunheim look like? And just a bunch of giants walking around.
I kind of want to do this. We shouldn't do this, but I kind of want to do it for all of them. So yeah, we should do it for an article.
Okay, well, let's do 2 more each, 2 random teams. We'll ask each other. What should the Saints be called?
You're gonna ask me? I'm just trying to look through a list and see what I could find. The Saints, the church, the chapel.
No, it's Bourbon Street. That's what it should be. Yeah, that. It's because it has to kind of work or something with
I think that's a little too confusing though. He's going to Bourbon Street. This player is people are gonna be what? He's going to party or he's going to drink? I think
the French Quarter.
Okay. That's better.
That's pretty sick. This was supposed to be yours. Give me one.
The Bayou.
Oh, the Bayou's great.
I
love that.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's the Bayou.
What do I do?
Let's go with the Buccaneers. That's easy.
See, the Buccaneers is easy, but it's hard because you have so many options. So you can't just go with something ship related because the Vikings.
You can.
I mean, what are you proposing to call it? I would say the Marina.
Okay, fair.
But even then, the Buccaneer is the mascot.
Yeah,
they're not ships. You know what I'm saying? So
the Black Pearl.
Oh, dude, see, that'd be sick. The Open Sea.
Yeah, I was thinking about the sea.
But see, you also have to be careful because the Raiders
Dolphins too.
The Dolphins is Davy Jones is
the reef.
The Reef, Davy Jones's Locker with what DH
Oh,
says.
yeah.
That's sick. Okay, last two. I'll ask you to do the Colts.
The Stable.
That's great.
And then what else?
Frethold Bates says The Pasture for the Bills.
How's the song go? Where the buffalo roam? Oh, Home on the Range. The range.
Oh, dude, respect. So you can't do nest for like any bird, or you got to be the first bird to do a nest because there's so many birds. So you got to be careful, because I was going to say the Cardinals, but what would the Chargers be?
Yeah. The
electric
the grid, or the grid, like the power grid,
the wall socket,
the Electric Factory. Shout out to the former Philadelphia concert venue called the Electric Factory.
All right,
place.
The Washington Commanders are 10.5 point dogs.
What a detour. I'm gonna go with.
I'm taking the Chiefs. I
think the Chiefs are back. Yeah, it's Mariota. Chiefs are back. Like I think they're legit back. They're back. So yeah, I like the.
This is going to be a Travis Kelce game. It's going to be like a Travis Kelce 3-touchdown game. So, all right. Songs. I can go first if you're ready.
Yep.
I heard TikTok talking about this. Like, I'd seen a lot of TikToks about it, and I finally found it. There is a version of the song Payphone by Maroon 5 that does not have the Wiz Khalifa rap in the bridge. And I kind of like it better. Because that whole thing kind of disrupts the emotion that you're feeling as the song's going. It's just, it's fine, but it just doesn't quite fit. I've always felt that. So to hear the song without it corroborated that for me.
Oh, what's the song again?
Payphone by Maroon 5, but the only Maroon 5 version.
Gotcha. I'm going to go with a song that I've been listening to recently that got stuck in my head, and like unexpectedly, I wasn't like expecting this. This isn't a go-to for me. I think I'm just gonna start listening to some more Frank Zappa for some reason out of nowhere. Just decided to do that, and I'm gonna go with Joe's Garage by Frank Zappa. So RJ's adding it to the playlist. As we're just sitting in silence. We should probably just get out of here. Oh, I went to Costco last week, as I told you. A lot of good. It was a good haul. Big time haul.
To like close the circle, you found the fish that my son likes. Did you buy it?
I did not get the fish yet because I got like a ton of stuff, and I don't think I had more room for that. But I will get that in the future. Was a sample day, by the way, when we went, so that was very fun. Just a lot of good samples out, and also, man, I shouldn't say this, I guess, because then maybe I'm giving up the secret. I don't know how secret it was, but we went like a Tuesday afternoon, and it was just great. No one was there. Every other time we're there.
I don't think that's much of a secret.
Well, for me, every other time I'd gone, and I had gone at other weird times, and it's been busy every time for some reason last week.
As we leave, Brandon, why don't you tell us the best thing to get samples of, whether it's at Costco or a Costco-like place?
I can't believe they were doing samples of this This wasn't the most recent time. It was a couple times ago. They were just giving out samples of bacon. And I'm like, I love it because, who wouldn't enjoy that? But also, like, who needs to be like, is this bacon any good? Should I try this? Like, that's very funny to me, as if like you're like gonna make or break it based on that. So I'm gonna go with that because I was like, I can't believe they're even having this. This feels like cheating. It was great.
Wow! Shout out to bacon.